Okay, so today we'll discuss the phylum Platyhelminthes. So in Greek, platy means flat, whereas helminth means worms. Worms. So these are the animals or flat animals. No, they dorsoventrally flat animals. Okay, so they are not like tube-like or thread-like. They are flat worms. Dorsoventrally flattened animals. Okay. And this is a very important phylum because in the entire evolutionary process, from the lower animals to the higher animals, in the Platyhelminthes are a remarkable evolutionary animals because the first time we are seeing the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry. Okay. This is a characteristic of the higher animals. Bilateral symmetry, whereas the lower animals like Porifera, Coelenterata, we have seen they have a symmetry of the either asymmetry or the radial symmetry or biradial symmetry. And the first time we are observing the bilateral symmetry in the Platyhelminthes, and also the triploblastic organization. Triploblastic organization and also organ level organization we are observing in the Platyhelminthes, and this is an evolutionary process organ level, whereas we have seen the Porifera and Coelenterata, Ctenophora, they have Porifera has only cellular organization, whereas Coelenterata and Ctenophora we have seen the tissue level. In the Platyhelminthes we are seeing the organ level organization. And the first time we are seeing the formation of head, that is called cephalization. Even though it is not that much of evolved, but somewhat moderate head is formed in the phylum Platyhelminthes. And these are all acoelomates. Acoelomates, and their body cavity, and there is no body cavity between the gut and the body wall, but this area is filled with the special cells. Okay. So there is no cavity, but this area spaces is filled with a special cavity called a parenchyma. Parenchyma, which is derived from the mesoderm, since it is a triploblastic organization. So these are the parenchyma. Generally, we see parenchyma in the plant tissues, but here also we call it as a plant tissue because in the Platyhelminthes only we see the parenchymal cells between the gut and the body wall. So these are the 5 unique features of the Platyhelminthes. Okay. Now we'll see their habitat. They are mostly endoparasites, means they live in host cells and causes diseases, and rarely free living, Example, planaria, whereas endoparasites like Taenia solium. Now we'll see the digestive system. So in the platyhelminthes, the digestive system is incomplete because the most of them, they are endoparasites. No, they don't need a complex digestive system to digestion because they absorb the nutrients which is available in the host cell directly. So mostly digestive system is absent in the endoparasites, but there is in free living forms there is a blind sac. Is a blind sac, the simple sac which consists a mouth, small mouth, and there is a sac that goes into the different this thing, and there is no anus and has only single opening. We call it as incomplete digestive system. And excretion happens through body wall with a specialized cells called flame cells. So we call it as flame cells because it looks like a flame cells. No, it is looking like this. Okay, this is a cell. We call it as flame cells or Solon cells. It will have a tough cilia. These are cilia. With the help of cilia pushes back and the entire this excretory products comes into the cell, then slowly it extracts. This is a mechanism of the flame cells. We also call it as solenocells. So this type of appearance of the cells, we call it as protonephridia. So in the evolution process, later these protonephridia transformed into the nephrons, which are useful in the excretory system. And very important, the respiration and circulation is absent in the platyhelminthes because the most of them are endoparasitic. They don't need respiration because they stays in the host body. There is no oxygen is required for them. So whatever the nutrients are supplied from this thing, they are mostly anaerobic. Okay, now nervous system. Nervous system is moderately developed by the nerve networks. We call it as nerve networks with the nerve fibers. These nerve fibers, these are the longitudinal nerve fibers, are connected with transverse commissioners with the regular intervals. So entire bodies, the longitudinal nerves are connected with the transverse commissionary, and this is longitudinal nerve fibers. Okay, so later in the evolution, this transverse commissionary evolved to connect between the two hemispheres of a brain. So the nerve fiber which is attaching to the both longitudinal nerve fibers, now in the higher animals, no, it evolved like it connects the both the hemisphere of the brain, and it is looking like a ladder. We call it as ladder like nervous system in platyhelminthes. The system looks like a ladder. Okay, then very important reproduction system in platyhelminthes. So platyhelminthes reproduce by both asexually. So asexual reproduction generally happens with the free living forms, that is we call it as tubularians, and sexual reproduction happens with endoparasites, and mostly these are hermaphrodites. Hermaphrodites having both male and female gonads, except Cystosoma hematobios. So except this, all are having hermaphrodite, and this is unisexual. The fertilization is internal. So development is direct and indirect. Development is direct and indirect. So we can see there is a lot of different larval stages. We call them as polyembryonic can be seen in the platyhelminthes, because some of these species having the more than 3, 4, 5, 6 larva stage, and even though they are having an endoparasitic nature. Now the classification based on the habitat, the platyhelminthes are divided into 3 types based on the habitat. One is tubularians, tubulariae, and other one is trematoda, and cestoda. So tubularians are the free living forms, whereas trematodes are digenetic because they need two hosts. Digenetic endoparasites. Okay, they need two hosts, a primary host and secondary host. I'll explain when we study different animals in the platyhelminthes now. So they require two host bodies. Okay, where cestoda requires more than two. Sorry, cestoda requires only two, that is digenetic, whereas trematoda requires more than two. So for tubularia, example is planaria. Planaria is called as Duguicia. Duguicia and Convoluta. Whereas trematoda examples are Fasciola hepatica. We call it as liver flukes, liver flukes, and Cystosoma hematobium. Hematobium, it's called as blood fluke. And the cystoda examples are Taenia solium, is called as pig tapeworm, so these are the classification, where tubularians are free living and trematodes are having require more than two host bodies, where cystoda needs two host bodies, they are digenetic. So these are the example. Planaria, scientific name of the planaria is called Duguicia and Convoluta. In the for trematoda, Fasciola hepatica and Cystosoma hematobium. For cystoda, Taenia solium are the example. Okay. Now let us see some of the examples of the platyhelminthes. One is tapeworm, because these worms are looking like a tape, long measuring tape. That's why we call it as tapeworm. Scientific name is called Taenia solium. Taenia solium, because this Taenia solium is infectious by a vector. We call it as pigs. So that's why it is also called as pork tapeworms. And the disease causes the Taenia solium. We call it as teniasis. The teniasis, causes uh, gastric cramps, a bleeding from the stomach, etc. And it is also a dangerous disease, and it is infects by the contaminated pork meat. And these tapeworms are digenetic, so they live majorly in man and in a short period in the pigs. So man or the primary host. So whenever there is a sexual reproduction happens, so we call it as primary host. Okay. So these are the secondary hosts. So now let us see their body structure. So this part we call it as head or scolex. Scolex. Okay, and scolex are having four suckers. This is one sucker, and this is the second one. It is visible because it is a front flattened, so we can see only half of the sucker, and this is another half of the sucker, and one more sucker will be on the back of the worm, and there will be two rows of the hooks. There will be two rows. It is also in circular. These are called suckers. Four, and these are hooks. They are two rows. So with the help of hooks, it attaches to the our stomach, and with the suckers they suck our blood and the nutrients, and which is extends into neck region, which is also called as prostrobium. Prostrobium. And the remaining entire part, we call it as strobium. Okay, the neck only produces the strobium part, and whereas the head region, head is a scolex, which is having a suckers and the hooks, and this entire strobium is divides into segments. So moment it is ascending, the size of the segments increases. See, in the anterior side, you are seeing this, the segments is very small. As moving on, the size is increasing. So this strobium is also known as proglatids. Segments are nothing but proglatids. These proglatids are three types. Okay, one is immature proglatids. So you can see the frontal side because they don't have any sexual organs like ovaries and testes, and then followed by in the middle region we have it has a mature proglatids to develop sex cells. Here undeveloped sex cells. In the last portion, it will have a gravid proglatids. In the gravid proglatids, but in the end of the body structure, we call it as gravid proglatids. And gravid proglatids are having the fertilized cyst will form. These are the cysts. So as it is moving on, the posterior parts will detaches from the body. Detaches from the body, and which is accumulates in the fecal material, and this along with the fecal material goes out. Okay. This detachment is called as apolysis. Okay. So from the neck region or the prostromium, these segments or the proglatids will form, and in these proglatids, no, these gravid proglatids with the matured the cyst and which is releases into the fecal matter, and these fecal matters with consumes by the pig. Okay, and these cysts will be present on the muscles of the pig fork. If you observe the meat of the pork which is infected by this Taenia solium, it is like bulgy, no, small bulges, bulgy, bulgy one. So that pork we call it as miscellany pork. So if you see any people with missales, know that they have small kind of bulgy kinds. Like that, the pork which is affected by the Taenia solium, it looks like the bulgy texture. So that we call it as miscellany pork. But when we are not properly cook this miscellany pork, and the cyst will release us in our stomach, and again the whole process will continue. So this is what tinea is. And the fertilization is your self-fertilization. They have two important larval stage, that is exact larval stage and Cysticercus. These are the two important larval stages of the Tiniasorium. This is all about the Tiniasorium. Let us see Planaria. Planaria is a free living form of the Platyhelminthes. They have a different body structure, and it is a freshwater. We can see first time eyes, even though it is not developed very much, but they have an sense organs, that is eyes. If you see, the head is triangular, followed by the entire body. So in the dorsal side, we can see one pair of eyes. It looks like this. Dorsal view of Planaria. And this is a ventral view. So ventral view, you can't see the eyes. In the center of the ventral side, there will be an opening with a tube, which is called tubular pharynx. Tubular pharynx. So this is what the blind sac. So this is a blind sac. From this, from fresh water, it absorbs the nutrition. So it enters into the body directly, blind sac. This is a ventral view. And these are having high regeneration property. This is a very good example for the regeneration power. If you make any cuts, no, if you make anything, any directions, and within a week, the new organism will form, and that is a capability of the Platyhelminthes, especially in the free living Platyhelminthes. They have a greater regeneration power. Okay, this is all about the Platyhelminthes.